So with gratitude and appreciation, allow me to please bring onto the stage Deepak Chopra. Stage is yours, sir.
Thank you, Peter. It's great to see some friends here in the audience, and thank you for giving me the honor to help solve the mystery of existence in the next 30 minutes. So I'm going to speak for 10 minutes and then do a meditation for 10 minutes, and we'll be happy to answer any questions for another 10 minutes. If you go online, if you go on Google or Wikipedia or anywhere else, and you type out what are the unsolved mysteries of the universe right now, or science mysteries, the first one you'll find is, what's the universe made of? And the answer, very short, without going into all the details, you can read all the books about the subject, but the universe is made out of nothing. And most cosmologists will tell you that that's true. What is the nature of that nothingness is something else that we can discuss later if you want. The second open question in science, and there are about 150 of these open questions that everybody agrees on, is what's the biological basis of consciousness? So before I even talk about that, consciousness is what makes any experience possible. Right now, you're having this experience because you're a conscious being. So we have two kinds of experiences: mental experiences, such as insight, intuition, imagination, creating vision, and creativity. Those are mental experiences. Thought, emotions, those are mental experiences. And then there's the other kind of experience that we call perceptual activity. So perceptual activity allows us to experience what we call the physical world. But for those of us who are really interested in the origins of consciousness, and in Eastern contemplative traditions, what we call the physical world, including our own physical body, is actually a perceptual activity in consciousness. It's an activity. Your body is an activity. It's not a thing. It's not a noun. It's a verb. You were once an embryo, and then and then a toddler, and a baby, an adolescent, and now you have this body right now. And this body is constantly and ever an activity that you are aware of in your consciousness. So your body is your perceptual activity. So is the physical world. That which we call the physical world, that humans call the physical world, is a mental construct for a perceptual activity, a human perceptual activity. So human perception is within a narrow band of experience. Whatever that experience is, whether it's a visual experience or a sound experience or texture or taste or smell, these are a narrow band of perceptual activity in consciousness. Consciousness modifies itself into sensations. This is a sensation. Sound. Into perceptions like seeing and other perceptions, smell and taste. And then as humans, we give these constructs, we give them constructs to these experiences, we call it matter. But as everybody is now struggling to define the nature of that which we call matter, because as we go deeply into the nature of what we call matter, we end up with something that's not material, whatever you want to call it, the quantum vacuum or the ground of existence, etc., etc. So contemplative traditions like meditation, mindful awareness, self-reflection, awareness of your body, awareness of your breath, awareness of your mental space, awareness of what's happening inside your body. These are all part of what in Eastern wisdom traditions we call yoga. And if you actually look at the word yoga, it means union. Union with what? It's the same as the English word yoke, yuj, to connect with the source of all experience. And that source of all experience is our consciousness. Consciousness is not mental activity. Mental activity is a fluctuation of consciousness. Consciousness is not perceptual activity, because perceptual activity is a fluctuation of consciousness. Consciousness is the ground state from where its perturbations are experienced as sensations, any sensation, perception, any perception, feelings, emotions, and thoughts, period. If you want to remember the acronym, it is SIFT, S-I-F-T. Sensations and sense perceptions, images, feelings, thoughts. As humans, we give constructs to those experiences, and we call them microphones and bodies and stars and galaxies and everything else. So the answer to the question, what's the biological basis of consciousness? According to Eastern wisdom traditions, there's no biological basis for consciousness. Biology itself is an experience in consciousness. Okay, so that's a lot to say in 10 minutes. Now let's just get into the meditation. And what I'm going to do is take you through 4 different aspects of meditation. The first is just awareness. Awareness of breath, awareness of body, awareness of mental space. The second will be self-reflection, which in India it's called Atma Vichar, going back to the self and reflecting on the self. And the third will be a form of transcendence, going to the source of thought, which is called pure consciousness, which is the source of every experience, including insight, intuition, imagination, creativity, vision, and then how we take those invisible aspects of our consciousness to create what we call the visible aspect of everyday reality. So please close your eyes and keep your feet firmly on the ground, uncrossed. And keep your hands open, preferably with your fingers facing upwards so they're open. And keep your back relatively erect. You can use the backrest. And please close your eyes. And we'll start just with observing the breath. As we observe the breath, we know it as the experience in consciousness, and the experience is a sensation that arises, that is known, and that subsides. All experience is like that. It arises as a sensation, is known, and then it subsides. You cannot hold on to your breath. If you do, you will suffocate. This is true of every perceptual experience or every experience in general. You can't hold on to any experience because it's an activity, it's not a thing, it's a movement. You are the observer of that movement. Now please bring your awareness to your body and feel your body from the inside out. And you can notice once again that your experience of the body is intermittent sensations. They arise, they are known, and they subside. The same way as the breath. And right now, you are the observer of that experience. Bodily sensations. Now move your awareness to sound. You can be aware of the sound of my voice, or you can be aware of the air conditioning, the sound, the white noise in the background. And you'll see that it's the same experience. Sound is an intermittent sensation in our consciousness. Arises, subsides, and is gone. The only constant in all these experiences is you, the observer. Everything else is a ceaseless activity. So now bring your awareness into your heart, right in the middle of your chest, and mentally ask the question, who am I? What am I? What is it that wants to know the answer to this question? What am I? Who am I? Don't try to figure out the answer, just ask the question. Who am I? And now, mentally ask the question, what is my deepest desire? For myself and for humanity. Again, what is my deepest desire? For myself and for humanity. And once again, don't look for an answer, just allow any sensation, any image, any feeling, any thought to spontaneously come to you. What is my deepest desire for us, for humanity? And now ask the question, what is my purpose? And how is what I do aligned with my deepest desire? How do I participate in the creation of our collective aspirations? What is my purpose? Allowing any sensation, image, feeling, or thought to come to you. Finally, ask the question, what am I grateful for? Allowing yourself to open the door to abundance consciousness. Gratitude opens the door to abundance consciousness. What am I grateful for? Allowing any sensation, image, feeling, or thought to come to you. Moving to the final phase of this particular meditation. Just repeat your full name to yourself. I am, first name and then last name. I am Deepak Chopra. I am Naveen Jain. I am Mary Smith. And now bring into your awareness any experience that is associated with that name and with that form. All the things happening in your life right now. Your plans, your dreams, your relationships, your job, your work, your deadlines, your stresses, your finances, whatever comes. let it come into your awareness. And now repeat only your first name. So instead of saying I am Deepak Chopra or I'm Mary Smith, just the first name. I am Mary. I am Paul. And this time allow any experiences of joy or happiness, especially of the exuberance and wonder that you had as a child, any experiences like that to come into your awareness. Experiences of joy and wonder and curiosity, especially when you were a child. And now please drop your first name as well and just repeat the phrase I am with no phrase, no memory, no form attached to it. Just I am. I am. And now drop that phrase, I am, and just rest in existence or awareness without any concept, any memory, any name, any form. Just rest in awareness. This is our ground state, to be aware of being aware. So just be aware of being aware. Awareness has no shape, no form, no sound, no color, but it makes every experience possible. Awareness is existence, being. So just rest in being. Okay, before we come out of this meditation, turn back to the sensations in your body and take a few seconds and then open your eyes for the last part of this meditation. Please open your eyes. We're going to complete this meditation by me asking you a question and by you responding with the answer, which is yes. Okay, so I'll ask you the question. Please answer by saying yes. Are you aware right now?
Yes.
Can you be a little more enthusiastic? Are you aware right now?
Yes.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask you the same question, but please don't answer it till I raise my hand. Okay? Are you aware right now? you aware? Is a mental activity, it's a thought. The answer, yes, is a mental activity, another thought. And thoughts and sensations and perceptions, they all go together. You're none of that. You are the awareness in which all this happens. So let me ask you the same question. This time, don't answer it. Just settle into the awareness in which this experience is happening. Are you aware? This still presence is your true identity. Everything else is a story. Maybe a religious story, a scientific story, theological story, but nevertheless, a story in awareness. If you can carry the stillness with you, wherever you go, no matter what happens, you have access to vision, imagination, creativity, and the transformation of that which is invisible into the visible. God's language is silence. Everything else is poor translation. Thank you. So I think we have some questions.
I think we probably have a few questions. So guys, we have those microphones in the audience again. I would expect nothing less than Naveen to step up first. Michael, please go ahead. Actually, ladies first over here. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Good morning. My name is Christine. I am Christine Michie. Thank you for that. I wanted to thank you for the books you've written and also one you endorsed years ago, Untethered Soul. Beautiful book that reminded me of what we were talking about this morning. And I'd ask you for your counsel for us as we tackle staggering problems and trying to alleviate human suffering. How would you counsel us to maintain our posture of peace and presence while we do that work?
So, not through melodrama and not through angry activism, but through creativity. And this is what your organization here is about. It's about creativity, creating vision, and then actualizing it. I think if you look at what's happening in the world right now, the big issues are climate change, social and economic injustice, eco-destruction, poison in the food chain, literally, and extinction of species, and basically a total lack of understanding of the inseparability of existence as an ecosystem. If we can focus on these issues, how do we create a more peaceful, just, sustainable, healthier, and joyful world? And we do it collectively. We do it with transparency. We keep it open. Emergence will happen. It's inevitable. That's how emergence happens.
Thank you. Naveen?
So Deepak, you have always mentioned that we are one universal consciousness and each one of us are simply a manifestation of that consciousness. Yet there is so much hatred amongst each other even though we are one. So we really is self-hatred, really what we're talking about, because we hate someone is part of us. And the second part is we've seen it in the past that Trump does not need contempt, he needs love. So can you explain that a little bit more?
Everybody needs love. Actually, hatred is a cry for love. Hatred says, give me attention, I need your love. But I think the fundamental understanding is that the consciousness in its pure form without the conditioned mind. See, your mind and my mind and everybody's mind here is conditioned through culture, through science, through history, through theology, through economics, through thousands of years of conditioning. So there are innumerable minds, and they're also species specific. You don't have the same experience of the physical world that an insect with 100 eyes has. And there are butterflies have 30,000 lenses to their eyes that move like a kaleidoscope. So what we call everyday reality is a species-specific experience in consciousness, but in the human mind, because we have the ability to create constructs, we create companies like Biome and we look at genomes and everything else. the key to understanding all this is that when you get to the source of all this, it's not mental activity, it's awareness that is modifying itself into experience. And in that awareness, we have the freedom to collectively imagine what we want to create as human beings. No other species has that capacity. So consciousness is one. Minds and experiences are innumerable and species and culture specific. In order to understand how do we get rid of all this hatred, you have to address this thing that now neuroscientists are calling the default network of the brain, which is the ego overshadowing the spirit. Ego is the conditioned mind overshadowing the spirit. So when we go transcend to this level of pure awareness, we have access to creativity. And as I said, if a system is these days, creativity is not usually a single person's imagination, it is the collective imagination and also collective intent and emergence, transparency, shared vision, and emotional and spiritual bonding. If you have those three things, shared vision, emotional and spiritual bonding, and complementing the strengths of people from disparate disciplines, humanities, philosophy, science, technology, arts, music, then you have a devastating combination for creative solutions, not angry activism.
Jessica Brown, whose excellent work we're seeing here, our head of visioneering. Jessica?
Deepak, thank you so much for being here. We're so grateful. I have a very practical question for you. I'm curious, do you have a smartphone?
Do I have a smartphone? Yeah, it's right now being used for Facebook Live.
Amazing. I'm wondering if you have any recommendations for the onslaught of notifications and the obsession with the smartphone.
Well, right now, actually, even Apple is giving you notifications on how many hours you spend on the smartphone. So I suggest that you schedule, because you schedule your activity on the smartphone or on the internet, because otherwise it will overwhelm you. On the other hand, the progress of technology is inevitable. It's part of our evolution. So either we adapt, or Darwinian principles say we'll become extinct, but we adapt in a wholesome way. Technology is neutral. What we do with it is up to us and our collective imagination. So try very hard, which I'm doing these days, just look at that device only like 4 times or 5 times a day and schedule it. That's what I do.
Thank you so much.
Dave Asprey, one of our corporate patrons and a dear friend.
Deepak, you've had one of the early voices saying aging is optional. Question for you. How long do you plan to stay in your current body?
So right now I'm 72 and I'm happy to say, well, I'll be 72 in a few days. I'm happy to say that I'm in perfect health. And I feel biologically as young as I did when I was in my 40s. In fact, every day I use the following affirmation. Every day, in every way, I'm increasing my physical and mental capacity. So I increase my mental capacity by learning one thing every day, and my physical capacity by doing one extra stretch or one extra yoga asana, or one extra 100 steps over the 10,000 that I do minimally. So I can't say how long I expect to live, but I can say this, that human aging, unlike the aging of animals, is not fixed. There's biological age, there's chronological age, there's psychological age, and we have lots of studies now that show that you can alter even genetic activity that has to do with aging. You can increase telomerase levels, you can change the neural networks of your brain, and I focus on 10 things. The first is deep rest, both deep sleep and meditation as a tool for resting. Mind-body coordination, for me, yoga and breathing exercises. Then physical exercise. Then focus on nutrition, which is ideal for your microbiome. And anti-inflammatory. And then other things like change your perception and expectations of what you think aging is. Because as you grow older, you can have the biology of youth and still benefit from the wisdom of experience. That is the ideal combination, the biology of youth and the wisdom of experience. Ultimately, death makes life possible. You know, if you're a biologist, there's a term we use called apoptosis, programmed cellular death. And if cells forget to die, they become cancer cells. A cancer cell is a cell that has lost its memory of wholeness and is on a quest of personal immortality. So I would say, think of the wholeness of which you are an activity, and then you will live longer, because it is death which makes life possible. Everything recycles. Energy recycles, information recycles, matter recycles, so does consciousness.
We're out of time, but I'm going to take one last question from my dear young friend Michael Kwan, one of our Innovation Board members. Michael.
Right, thank you very much. 早上好. So, I was meditating when you asked me, I am Michael Kwan, but I have a Chinese name. So, I think we're shaped by our languages. When I was trying to find who I am, when I use my English name, I think I have English personalities or American personalities. So if I'm Chinese, using Chinese name, I might be a totally different person. So in this world, we have technology, we have vision, we have desire. How the language is shaping us, and how do you bridging the language gap? I'm assuming that you speak another language, definitely.
Yes, I do. Well, you've raised a very important point.
Yes.
Very important. Okay. So, language shapes reality, period. It gives rise to constructs. And if you really want to get into going beyond your provisional identity, which is neither Chinese, nor British, nor English, nor American, your real identity is awareness that has taken on these provisional identities, then you will have access to true creativity. Because creativity is not a system of thought. You have to go beyond thought. Thought is just an expression of creativity.
Well, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, please help me in thanking our amazing guest.